The performance versus two high safeties is better now in 2024 than it was in 2023 and 2022. Yards per attempt is up. Yards per attempt is 7.5 yards per attempt against two high. Last year it was 7.0. It was 6.6 in 2022. EPA per attempt is actually positive against two high this year. Last year was minus 0.05. In 2022 is minus 0.07. Success rate is up. It's 44% this year. Last year it was 42%. In 2022 it was 41%. The real struggle, yes, we're seeing more two high a little bit. The real struggle is offenses versus the blitz. Now, notice I didn't say quarterbacks versus the blitz because this is on everyone. This is on quarterbacks. This is on offense coordinators. This is on offensive lines. Look at the first 3 weeks of the season only this year compared to years past. And let's remove plays inside of the red zone because EPA can potentially spike. Let's eliminate that. The other 80 yards of the football field versus the blitz, quarterback EPA per attempt is minus 0.09 this year. Last year was minus 0.01. The year before it was 0. In 2021, it was positive. In 2020, it was plus 0.09. In fact, this is the lowest mark through 3 weeks versus the blitz since 2010. There was a time that offenses made defenses pay for blitzing, but that time is no more. Look at yards per attempt, for example. Matt, bring up that yards per attempt tweet. Quarterback yards per attempt versus the blitz through week 3 of the season. 7.3 yards per attempt this year. 7.6 last year, 7.6 the year before, 8.5 in 2021, 8.2 in 2020, et cetera, et cetera. You can see as we go down what the quarterback yards per attempt was against the blitz. Look at the EPA per attempt off to the right. As I mentioned, there was a time when we really were making defenses pay for sending pressure. We were really making defense. Even in 2019, we're at 8.8 yards per attempt and plus 0.13 EPA per attempt. Now we're all the way down at 7.3 and minus 0.09. So air yardage versus the blitz is only 8.0. That is a low through the first 15 years of this study. Almost 25% of passes versus the blitz are being thrown behind the line of scrimmage. That is a high through 15 years of this study. Back in the early 2010s when defenses blitzed, quarterbacks threw the ball behind the line of scrimmage less than 15% of the time, and they averaged 9.5 air yards. Now they're throwing it behind the line on 25% of attempts and averaging only 8 air yards. And what's wild is right now we have the most mobile quarterbacks ever at any point in history. The vast majority of these quarterbacks are mobile. They're not pocket statues. They should be able to move in the pocket. And that's actually reflected in the pressure data. Versus the blitz, quarterbacks are being pressured at a 37.5% rate this year. It's been in the low 40% rate the prior 3 years. 37.5% pressure rate on blitzes is the third lowest of the last 15 years. But there are very few big plays being made. Versus the blitz, quarterback boom rate, which is the rate at which plays gain an EPA of 1 or better, is at an all-time low. Defensive coordinators are finding creative ways to simulate pressure and bring the blitz. Quarterbacks don't know exactly who's coming or if an extra rusher is even coming. Offensive coordinators aren't getting their offense prepared with enough answers. Offensive line play is down. They aren't recognizing the blitzes. Quarterbacks aren't beating the blitzes. The teams aren't actually blitzing more. In fact, 25.4% blitz rate outside the red zone is the third lowest of this decade. We're just playing much worse against it. From coaches on down, teams need to figure out a way to play better when they are being blitzed, because this is not it. This performance against the blitz is not it. And there have been some teams that I've worked with in the past where I kind of use the mentality, you need to attack the attacker. If they are going to send the blitz to be aggressive and attack you, you must attack them back and make them pay for that. You cannot allow them to just blitz you and just simply try to figure out our best defense. No, it's not about defense at that point. It's about offense at that point. It's about attacking them when they are choosing to roll the dice and send that pressure. And that's what it needs to be. It doesn't feel like a dice roll. When teams are blitzing this year, it feels like an oh shit moment for these quarterbacks. It feels like these quarterbacks are freaking out. Their offensive lines don't know what to do. And we saw the rise of sim pressures last season, especially with Mike McDonald. There absolutely needs to be a counter punch by offensive coaches at some point this season. It's not happened year to date. The first 3 weeks, it's been abysmal. is part of the biggest issues that we're seeing in the NFL right now, as I said. So when you're talking about offenses and struggles and quarterback play, et cetera, we have to remember offensive line play is a problem as well. But we really, really need to remember that this is on the offensive coaches to figure out a solution to this problem, because it's a league-wide problem. Defenses aren't blitzing more. We're not seeing higher rates of too high coverage than we've seen in the last several years. We're actually playing okay against too high coverage this season. And stats bear that out. I shared them at the beginning. Where we're massively falling off is against the blitz. If you figure that out, the teams that figure it out the fastest are going to have the most success throughout the season.